contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all three Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
They know the minutia of game time decisions, when to call timeouts, when the kick, go for two, and all that other stuff better than the head coaches, because the head coaches aren't watching 30, 35 games like sports fans are between college football and the NFL. All the head coaches are doing are watching game films. They may be watching 30 game films, but they're not watching game management. So the fan does know.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Mike Trout, will he ask for a trade? And maybe I'm a bit of a Neanderthal for asking this, and people are going to say, listen, he's never leaving. I refuse to accept that we're just not going to get Mike Trout postseason baseball ever again. Because clearly when healthy, he can still do it. But he's also rarely healthy and still kind of expensive. It's complicated.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Course setup, Bethpage, and how soft the greens were, how long it played. It definitely was an advantage for Europe from my mind, and they putted better.
Well, but do you think, in a weird way, that same setup is what allows the Americans to get back in it today? Because you do see a lot of those big putts made.
Yeah.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions live on SportsGrid. Kevin Walsh with you on a Friday night live from the decisions desk, where we have plenty to make here, no doubt about it. We will also get you ready for tonight, but there are also some odds movements, some injuries, some big doings this weekend. We're going to talk a little Thursday night football. What a game it was. A little crowded yesterday, right, with some important playoff baseball kind of cutting in. But that result for San Francisco is one of the biggest of the NFL season, if not the biggest. They go to 4-1, 3-0 in division, a win now over all three of their division mates in LA, Seattle, and Arizona. Two of those on the road against the Rams and Seahawks, who are oft booked as the most legitimate threats to a NFC West division title, where the Niners go to minus money. San Francisco, though, in this win with Mac Jones, have the third strongest odds to make the playoffs. Only the Buffalo Bills and Philadelphia Eagles are above the Niners when it comes to make the playoff odds. For San Francisco, they only have two remaining games that are against teams above 500 outside of the division. The Rams next week, and then a game against Indianapolis. We'll see what the records look like by the time they get to those games. But you're still looking at games against Carolina, Cleveland, Tennessee, the Giants, respectfully, at home against the Falcons. A Niner team that has to get healthier as the season goes on. I don't think there's any world, famous last words, that trends down. The Niners trend up. Robert Saleh, Assistant Coach of the Year. We're looking at you. Now, that was the football yesterday. What about the football tonight? The College Football Board comes a-calling, loaded actually, on a Friday night. A number of games. It starts at 7 with Delaware, Western Kentucky. Some folks seem hot on the Blue Hens. South Florida and Charlotte. San Jose State, New Mexico. Aztecs, San Diego State hosting the Colorado State Rams. And then the ranked matchup tonight is BYU and West Virginia. We will lock in on this slate. We'll get some help from our guy, Joe Lisi, not only with this 5-pack of games on a Friday, but ranked action throughout the weekend. A huge battle in the SEC between Bama and Vanderbilt. Maybe just as intriguing, the matchup between Florida and Texas. Then you stay in state for FSU and Miami, the biggest game so far of the ACC season, maybe the biggest game that will be played in the ACC all year. We're going to get some insight from Joe Lisi. We're going to give you our GTD SU picks here on a Friday. We're locked in on some key spots here heading into the weekend. Those games may be featured. We'll get you crew best bets. We're going to get you a Friday 5. You guys know that we are locked and loaded for all of your college football options. We will, though, as well, I mentioned the Friday 5, put our eye to the NFL Sunday slate. A lot of important games, some important news. It is now official. Lamar Jackson out in Baltimore. The Ravens will have to now try and pull off an upset of the Houston Texans. We speak to Cordell Woodland, who joined the show to get set for that game, the outlook for Baltimore, not just this week, but moving forward. Could this Ravens team, a dog here, playing the Rams next week, be 1-5? And how will the market shift if that becomes the case? Because right now, the books stay confident. The books are still all in on this Ravens team. Are they one loss away from everything changing? We will look for that answer. One quarterback out, one quarterback in. Jaden Daniels will go for the Washington Commanders on Sunday against the Chargers. And all of the injury news right now feels like it is working against LA. I know Washington's missing Terry McLaurin, but getting Jaden Daniels back was key. Deebo Samuel's going to be a go. Meanwhile, Joe Alt out for this matchup in LA. Remember, Joe Alt, first-round talent in year number 2, steps in for Rashawn Slater, a franchise left tackle, and really kept that Chargers offensive line afloat. For the Chargers to lose both of these guys, one for the season, another for maybe a couple of weeks, is devastating. We'll see how the Chargers bounce back and manage, because keep in mind, the Chargers started the season 3-0, 3-0 division, runaway style, AFC West. Drop that game to the Giants. Chiefs beat Baltimore. That's a couple of upsets. Next thing you know, Chiefs are knocking on the door. So we will talk about those games, get Brady Cannon in the mix with us, get a little insight from Brady on what he's seeing as the week has kind of developed here and the spreads have moved within the NFL. We will also just keep you posted on everything doing Major League Baseball-wise. First time in a few nights we don't have any MLB action, but tomorrow that picks right back up with the ALDS and the NLDS. I think the biggest piece of booking news, now this will vary book to book, but it's the Dodgers having a co-pilot, co-favorite, the New York Yankees. And this is a conversation that, you know, I had with, you guys know Sam, the producer, we do the producer plays. He's positive that this could just be a full fade of the bye. The Yankee number and the Dodger number. And when I saw the Dodger number against the Phillies for the series, I thought maybe. When I see the Yankee number against the Blue Jays, again, it feels like there might be something to it. I think what is inarguable, and this is why I don't love the bye in Major League Baseball. Curious to see how it shakes out. It is inarguable that there is no boost for the bye. This isn't a situation where the Yankees would be minus 200 if they were the one coming off of the bye. Or, you know, the Dodgers would be minus 180 if they were the ones coming off of the bye. I think that is a little bit fascinating. And it's also increasingly interesting when you remember that both Philadelphia and Toronto are Game 1 favorites. Those lines are out and available. It's actually home favorites across the card right now to start those games. The biggest projected favorite right now is Seattle against Detroit. For the Tigers, it's going to be what can Skubal give them? The expectation, I am assuming, is Tariq Skubal game number 2. And then if you get to a game 5, hope he's got it for you in that spot. We'll see if that all plays out that way. But the Mariners sitting at above minus 200. Are they a bigger favorite than the Dodgers were in either of those two games? I mean, it's same ballpark. It gives you an idea maybe how the books feel more about Detroit necessarily than Seattle. Again, the baseball postseason is going to pick right back up tomorrow. The WNBA postseason picks back up tonight. WNBA finals action begins in Vegas. The Aces, a 3.5-point favorite, a listed total of 161.5. I've got a best bet for you guys in this game tonight. I don't think you'd be able to predict it. I would have assumed we'd be playing Aja Wilson's rebounds. Books were ready for that one. You want to get a little parlay happy. I don't mind it, but I think there's a different way to zag. We go to the college football world, though, next on a Friday night on SportsGrid.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Ashton Genty, between yards and yards before contact and yards after contact, all these sorts of, they're giving him nothing. He is getting hit constantly behind the line of scrimmage, multiple yards behind the line of scrimmage, and frankly, at this point, I think he's essentially out of the race, and this is partly due to Emeka Buka having a great year, Tyler Warren putting up big numbers, Ted McMillan, I think, is maybe the most talented player overall in the rookie class.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Well, Shadur, which quarterbacks are you talking about? Because there is some bad quarterback play out there, but the dude who can't beat Dylan Gabriel out for a job and can't beat Joe Flacco out for a job certainly can't lay claim to being better than any other quarterback in the league.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
That team are going to stretch them over the top, but I still think it's blue-collar football, Big Ten style. That's where USC has struggled. I do not think Lincoln Riley, I'm sorry, is a good head coach. He's a great quarterback whisperer. He coaches from an offensive coordinator position, doesn't make halftime adjustments, and that's where I give the edge to Bielema. I don't like this game, but I would take the points with Illinois.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Major League Baseball has decided it is time to put balls and strikes not just in the hands of the umpires, but also the robot umpires, as they say. The ABS system is now officially in place starting next season. Now, keep in mind, they're not just throwing this out there. They have used this at the Arizona Fall League, and they've also used it at different levels of the minor leagues as well.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Live on a Friday night, Game Time Decisions, the college football card, I am sure, calling many of you, it doesn't begin with ranked action. It does feature ranked action, though, between BYU and West Virginia. The Big 12, you can still see it throughout the market, is going to be very unpredictable and will struggle to put multiple teams in the race, in the conversation when we're talking college football playoff. Now, Texas Tech has started to pull ahead. Texas Tech, with their win on the road against Utah, really shifted perception. They do still have to play this BYU team, but at home, what projects to be the most difficult game on that Tech schedule is actually going to be at Arizona State, which is a road game because Arizona State right now has the second best odds. It's interesting, though. Texas Tech could potentially end up a favorite in that game, as they are this weekend in a very interesting spot, laying double digits on the road against a Houston team who has actually started the season 4-0, just as you have seen so far for Texas Tech and for this BYU group. But for BYU, their number tonight is more about opponent than themselves. The Cougs' victory over Colorado was a non-cover from the word go. Trailed 14-0 in that game. A great comeback, but this Buffs team is going to really struggle this year. I think expected with the losses of Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders, and that has so far been the case for CU. Although they were live in both games against BYU ranked, and obviously Georgia Tech ranked as well. Nevertheless, the Mountaineers, an injured team and a struggling team, they got up for a rivalry spot in the backyard brawl against Pittsburgh with a big comeback victory. That seemingly took everything out of them. They've lost their next two games, both Big 12 games, Kansas and Utah, combined 89-24. It's been ugly for West Virginia. Not a game I was able to get to the window on here. One thing and look, I appreciate these games. We break these games down. I feel as if last year, occasionally, though, I would maybe force action on the board for weekday college slates, and I know I did that to start the season, right, where I was getting beat up on a Thursday. I'm playing Akron, Wyoming for a full level best bet. So I've pulled back on some of these. We've gone through them. South Florida, 27.5-point favorite against Charlotte. That was 28.5. It looks like a lot of points for South Florida. We've also just not seen this team play many games like that. Like, we really don't have a spot like this, right? The first three games are Boise, Florida, and Miami, right? 3 ranked games, all spots where they're supposed to actually lose. Some lose by a lot. And then you get to a game against South Carolina State. They're a 35.5-point favorite. They want to make a statement. They do. They win 63-14. They run it up, and they should. Charlotte is bad, but at least it's an in-conference opponent. It makes for an interesting spot. The spot that was most interesting to me, San Diego State, Colorado State. The Aztecs 3-1 off of a fantastic 34-0 upset of Cal. Follow that up in a very ugly 6-3 victory against Northern Illinois. QB injury for the Huskies really zapped any potential, I think, for them out of that game. And for the Aztecs, the defensive performances that they put up over the last 2 weeks, and you have 3 points in a 2-week window, that's going to do a lot. This team's actually they've only allowed 3 points in 3 of their games combined. But the other was a Washington State team who hung 36 on San Diego State. I think Colorado State is much better than their projected 16.5 team total has here tonight. If you look, CSU actually played Washington State. They only scored 3. They only punted on 2 of 9 possessions. Turnovers, whether that be on downs or interceptions, really got in the way. Made a quarterback change, gets his legs under him a little bit here. I think we had a Colorado State team total over 16.5, and that's how my college week is going to begin. Where am I going to be focused tomorrow? What about where will the guys be focused tomorrow? Let's do some GTD State U picks here. AJ is going to go to the Cincinnati money line, one of those jump right at you spots on a college football card where you have the number 14 team in the country, Iowa State, keeping up with the Big 12 trend. On the road, catching points to an unranked Cincinnati Bearcats group. Cincy's offense has been fantastic. It's a question of can they get the stops. Iowa State, with a pretty impressive win, actually, against Arizona, 39-14. They win that game by 25, despite laying less than 5 in the matchup. Very interested to see how that one shakes out. Sam keeps it within the Big 12, goes to Baylor at -5.5. Baylor Bears and their offense, really exciting group there. certainly a capable covering squad in that matchup going against Kansas State, who, of course, many of you will remember start the season in Dublin, tons of expectations, lose that one, and seemingly watch their season slip out of their hands before they even really know what hit them. We'll see what Baylor brings to the table. Chris goes to one of the big ones, and I fully agree here. He's going to lay the 5.5 with Texas. I am doing the same. Now, I've actually already played this. I played it at 4.5. I like Texas at anything at -6.5 or better, really. I think this is the Texas spot. People have talked about Florida off of the bye. Can they correct that offense a little? Here's the biggest difference. Florida is going to play. They played a tough schedule. The toughest defense they've seen so far. Does anybody want to argue that Miami's defense is better? I don't think so. That USF's defense is better? I don't think so. Maybe you want to make an argument for LSU, but I feel like after the game at Ole Miss, probably not. Here's the other side of that, right? Florida's defense has been really good. I agree. I totally agree. Anybody want to argue Florida's defense is as good as Ohio State's? Arch has played a defense this good. I don't even think DJ Lagway has. Arch, I know people have made a lot of the celebration. He got right against San Jose State off the bye now. I think they have a chance to run it. Speaking of run it, I think Notre Dame's going to do a lot of that against Boise State. And they'll do it successfully, just not successfully enough to clear this total. Give me the under 63.5. Boise State and Notre Dame at -115. We'll go to the WNBA Finals next.
Genti between yards and yards before contact and yards after contact, all these sorts of, they're giving him nothing. He is getting hit constantly behind the line of scrimmage, multiple yards behind the line of scrimmage, and frankly, at this point, I think he's essentially out of the race, and this is partly due to Emeka Buka having a great year, Tyler Warren putting up big numbers, Tet McMillan, I think, is maybe the most talented player overall in the rookie class.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The leader right now in the clubhouse in the odds market is Fernando Mendoza. College football purists, yep, absolutely know that guy. Fantastic. He's a great quarterback. Non-purists who are tuning in just for the biggest games, who is this guy, Joe, and how did he get here?
He came from Cal. He's a mobile kid. He's big. He's about 220. He's a gutty kid and had a great performance for Kirk Cignetti.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
We're in a weird place with Trevor Lawrence. This was another one of these quote-unquote can't-miss generational quarterback prospects, right? Everybody was salivating over when he was a freshman winning national championships. And here we are, about 5 years later, looking at ourselves going, is it just time for Trevor Lawrence to get a change of venue or something? Like, what's got to give here? Hopefully this Liam Cohen offense starts to come together.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
The Americans got to find answers in these partnerships, and I think they need to look at their who's making these decisions from a stat standpoint.
Well, it's so funny to me, especially coming off of the Walker Cup just a few weeks before, how it just seems like there's this glaring chasm between American partnered match play and American individual, singles match play.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Lot to come here tonight on a Friday night. Game Time Decisions with you, getting set for a big weekend full of football, both college and NFL, as well as the Major League Baseball postseason. We're going to talk about all of this here in the next hour. We're going to have Adam Kaplan join us in about 5 minutes' time, get some insight from him around the latest in the league. Very curious if he's hearing anything around the Cincinnati Bengals situation. A lot of people, you hear it and I get why. They're like, oh, Cincinnati, what are they going to do at quarterback? Why do they do anything at quarterback? They're cheap. Cincinnati has to look around and realize that there's opportunity out there. There's quarterbacks out there. I'm wondering if Adam Kaplan's hearing anything around that. We're going to talk about their divisional rival, the Baltimore Ravens, with Cordell Woodland. Get some insight from him with the Lamar Jackson news that he's ruled out already for this game against Houston this weekend. Joe Lisi will join the show, give us some college football insight, both tonight's card as well as tomorrow's. And then, as always, we check in with Brady Cannon on a Friday. What is moving and shaking out there in Vegas? And speaking of Vegas, the Aces tonight, the WNBA Finals. They host the Phoenix Mercury. Now, the setup here, personally, because that's where this is all, that's where this is driven from, is, personal experience and bets and what we're on, is I'm on Vegas to win the WNBA championship before the year. Now, I believe I told everyone this. I did get a little cute with how I played it. There was a weekend where we were parlaying the Aces to win the title with a number of home runs. So, there's a ticket in there with Drake Baldwin and the Aces and Rafael Devers when he was on the Red Sox and the Aces, and it's a good number. But it probably puts me in a position where, to make it all worth it, Vegas needs to come in. And I trust Vegas in this series. I think I am unlikely to hedge at any point. I am certainly not hedging pre-flop. I'm going to let a game or two or three play out here. Remember, this is a best of 7. The first time ever in the history of the WNBA we are seeing a series this long. I don't know who that gives an advantage to. My thought is just Vegas, because they have the final game of the series in their building. I mean, I guess, of course, having home court is the advantage. I guess I'm trying to say, if it was a 5-game series, who would that be better for? Or if it was a 3-game series, who would that be better for? Getting up to 7, these are 2 star-studded teams, right? You look, and there are clear, identifiable big threes. Aja Wilson, Jackie Young, Chelsea Gray, Satu Sabali, Kalia Copper, and at the top of that, Alyssa Thomas. MVP candidates, all-star caliber players. But for Vegas, they've been here before. This is their 3rd finals in 4 years. And Aja Wilson and this group have grown accustomed to winning. And not just in recent years, but in recent time. Can't stress this enough. A 14-14 Las Vegas Aces won 16 straight regular season games to climb up to the 2 seed. They are 21-3 in their last 24 games when you add in this postseason run. While the Mercury knocking off the Minnesota Lynx cannot be taken for granted, there were a lot of comebacks within that series. They had a huge second-half comeback, and then they needed to close it out in overtime to seal the deal. They had a huge fourth-quarter comeback to knock off the Lynx in game number 3. Heck, they even needed to come back in game 4. Remember, Nafisha Collier did not play in that game. I feel comfortable in my assessment that Vegas is the better team. I expect Vegas to win. I went through the player prop markets like series leaders, okay? Aja's a huge favorite to lead in points. She should be. She's a pretty big favorite to lead in rebounds. She should be. She has monster glass performances against this Mercury team throughout the season. Alyssa Thomas is the biggest favorite when we're talking about assists. Again, she should be. There could be some value on most made threes. Jewel Lloyd, 9-1. But because there's so much fluidity in made 3 markets and series, we bet these all the time when we talk NBA playoffs, okay? I'm hoping these continuously are reposted, and I will look to engage and get some juice on the board. What I am going to get on the board with is actually hopefully no juice, at least to start. First quarter under 41.5. Aces Mercury, give me that number under. 4 meetings in the regular season, 40 or less in all of those meetings. I think it's lower scoring. Let's throw the fellas team total up, or best bets, up on the board. Nick Minucci for a passing touchdown and an anytime touchdown for Sam. West Virginia first half team total 6.5 for Chris. We bring in NFL insider Adam Kaplan next.
Cash and Genti between yards and yards before contact and yards after contact, all these sorts of, they're giving him nothing. He is getting hit constantly behind the line of scrimmage, multiple yards behind the line of scrimmage, and frankly, at this point, I think he's essentially out of the race, and this is partly due to Emeka Buka having a great year, Tyler Warren putting up big numbers, Tet McMillan, I think, is maybe the most talented player overall in the rookie class.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The leader right now in the clubhouse in the odds market is Fernando Mendoza. College football purists, yep, absolutely know that guy. Fantastic. He's a great quarterback. Non-purists who are tuning in just for the biggest games, who is this guy, Joe, and how did he get here?
Well, he came from Cal. He's a mobile kid. He's big. He's about 6'3", about 220. He's a gutty kid and had a great performance for Kirk Signetti.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
We're in a weird place with Trevor Lawrence. This was another one of these quote-unquote can't-miss generational quarterback prospects, right? Everybody was salivating over when he was a freshman winning national championships. And here we are, about 5 years later, looking at ourselves going, is it just time for Trevor Lawrence to get a change of venue or something? Like, what's got to give here? Hopefully this Liam Cohen offense starts to come together.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
The Americans got to find answers in these partnerships, and I think they need to look at their who's making these decisions from a stat standpoint.
Well, it's so funny to me, especially coming off of the Walker Cup just a few weeks before, how it just seems like there's this glaring chasm between American partnered match play and American individual, singles match play.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Live on SportsGrid, it is game time decisions, and we're making decisions today, but we also have some decisions to make throughout the weekend. There are also maybe some front offices who need to make some decisions. Let's bring in NFL insider Adam Kaplan. Cap, it is great as always to check in with you on a Friday. I want to start in Cincinnati if I can.
Sure.
It's a team who, of course, in losing Joe Burrow, knew it was going to be a tough climb. But they are still holding out hope that he can return. But there's no point in coming back if you're 6-10. And if they let Jake Browning remain their quarterback, Cap, they'll be lucky to be 6-10. I get he had a nice run a couple of years ago. He's bad. I think we can see that. Is there any chance the Bengals make a move for a real quarterback?
All right, just one thing, Kevin. He's been with them for a number of years. They know he's a gunslinger. He's very aggressive. He, on occasion, will turn it over. Yes, he did not look good against Denver. In Denver, Denver completely shut him down. That's something is in the back of their minds. Now, what you have to understand is when you talk about making a trade, they're not a cash-rich team. Like, I know people are starting to conflate Kirk Cousins' name because obviously there's no reason to pay Atlanta if you're Atlanta and you've got Kirk Cousins. You're over $35 million over 2 seasons. It's fully guaranteed. To trade him, they're going to have to eat a lot of that money. That's the word around the league. There's no question about that. Unless something were to happen, we're not talking about bad play. If some team that we all know is going to go to the playoffs loses their starting quarterback for the season, that changes the leverage point. That's what it's called, is the leverage point. But getting back to the Bengals who you brought up, they've known Browning. I've talked about Browning before on SportsGrid. Talked to a coach that worked with him many years ago. And who's proud of him because it didn't look good for Browning when he was with the Vikings a number of years ago, but he's worked his way through it. They are 2-2, and by the way, look at that division right now. The Ravens have no shot. By number, going back 35 years, the Ravens have a 2% chance to make the playoffs based on their record of 1-3. Okay, it's who saw this coming with the Ravens? So they still have a shot. But on your point, we'll move this forward. Let's say they're 2-5.
Yeah.
That changes it. Now, do they have to look at it and say, can we even save our season? Kevin, the percentage shot, once you get to 2-4 and 2-5, but by the percentages, you're essentially playing for next year. That's the reality.
So, Cap, I think and I'm going to ask you about Baltimore, but because the Ravens situation is what it is, Cincinnati could lose their next 2 games. And if Lamar misses the next 2 games, the Bengals may have a better record than the Ravens, right? Despite being 2-4.
Yeah.
That is why, to me, I agree with you, right? Most teams, you're 2-5, it's like, what are we going to do here? But because the North looks like it could be so bad, maybe whoever would have thought 9 wins gets you in, 8 wins gets you in. Cap, there are 2 quarterbacks on the New York Giants. That would be an upgrade over Jake Browning. I think most people would agree, and that's before we get into Gardner Minshew in Kansas City, or Tanner McKee would cost the Bengals like 4 firsts at this point. But you know what I mean? But Cap, there are options out there for this team, no?
There are, but Russell Wilson at this point is seen as a journeyman. Now, what makes the contract tradable, he's making a veteran minimum. He's not making a lot of money. Jameis Winston's not making a lot of money, but they're not going to be desirable. That's you need to find somebody you can win with. I mean, look at Baltimore right now, right, with Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush was thought to be a good backup last year. He did not play well. That game against your Eagles in Dallas, he was horrendous. The state of backup quarterback play is tough. You mentioned Tanner McKee. Tanner McKee is right now seen as the best backup quarterback in the National Football League. Just think if Tanner McKee happened to be the Saints quarterback right now. I'm not saying they'd be 4-0, but think about how much better they would be. Tanner McKee is a baller. He could play.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I guess what I would say on Russ is I still think there's so much talent, at least offensively, for Cincinnati. They would be able to get competent, right?
Yeah.
And I think that would be interesting. No, I mean,
he's so streaky. See, Kevin, here's the problem with Russell Wilson. He talked to the Steelers as I did, and remember, I had the note in January first to put out there that they wanted to bench Russell Wilson. Arthur Smith was told, no, it's not going to happen. Russell is streaky. It looks good for a while.
Yeah.
And then he collapses, and he never regains it. And he frustrates coaches because he holds onto the ball too much, and he wants to be a superstar. That's hard to coach. I know where you're going here. It's got to be better than Jake Browning. Listen, I want to bring up Daniel Jones. You buried him last year with me many times.
I sure did.
You weren't wrong. But look at Daniel Jones now. He needed to change the scenery.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, I think Daniel Jones actually – I think what's happening with Daniel Jones is super, super interesting because you would imagine no matter what happens the rest of the year, it saved Shane Steichen's job in Indianapolis, right? Well, Cap, I guess, so you say for now, but like – look, I don't think all of a sudden Daniel Jones is like a future MVP quarterback, right? But everybody was like, he's better than Richardson, and so far, obviously, those results are bearing out. Have you heard anything about the updated expectations in Indianapolis? I mean, we're talking about a team that's now booked as favorites in their division.
Yeah. No, it's funny you mentioned that because it might have been on on the Monday show with Craig Mish. I said that it's funny you brought up the future numbers. I said we now I call them the circle of trust teams. What I said is they have to play well. They don't necessarily have to beat the Rams, but they have to play well. And they were super impressive. The Colts were. I didn't see this coming into the season. Nobody did. It's one thing you could say Daniel Jones could be better than Richardson. That's one thing. But they were awful on defense last year. Awful. Lou Anarumo, who was fired by the Bengals for being, at times, they were non-competitive defense. They're playing terrific defense. Give Lou credit. There are a lot of things you can't know. And Daniel Jones is an athlete. He's got an arm. He's not turning it over. I know that was the issue. You and I would talk on Pro Football Today about that seemingly every Sunday. And it bothered you because he kept turning it over. Well, he's not turning the ball over, Kevin. That's the thing. And what Jonathan Taylor has not looked so good. So for the future players, I didn't think I'd say this. I'm absolutely buying into the Colts.
Here's my take on it. I think playing the way they did against the Rams was big. Yep. They now cannot have the letdown against Vegas. We know crazy things happen.
I hear you. I know.
I think this spot against Vegas, like I would say there's no way I don't bet the Raiders +7. If the Colts cover that game, that, to me, will be the biggest eye-opener of the point. I want to ask you about this, Cap, before we let you get out of here. Sure. Philadelphia. I mean, here we go. Worst 4-0 team of all time, apparently. What are you hearing out of Philly? It is a loud 4-0 situation.
Well, there's a lot of frustration, as there were last year. Frustrations. Where's the passing game? Okay, Jalen Hurts at times holding on to the ball too long. But you were at that game in Tampa last week.
Mm-hmm.
He was incredible against the blitz the first half.
Yep.
And then he went 0 for 8. Now, I know there's some thought, he might have been a little bit woozy after the hit late in the first half. Going 0 for 8 for 0 yards in the second half is hard to do. So which Jalen Hurts are you going to get? But we're seeing this around the league, the inconsistency of some offenses, right? And Philly, you mentioned them. I mean, they're only 2 teams at 4-0. And I, as our intrepid producer Sam Yarnell and I were talking about before we did the segment tonight, Kevin, this is what the league wants, though. A lot of mystery. Who are the dominant teams? There are no dominant teams this year. There's none. There are no dominant teams in the National Football League. They like competitive balance. They hate the word parity. They always tell me it's competitive balance. That's what they're getting.
Yeah, I think that is absolutely true. I think you bring up, Cap, though, I got to say, and it's no surprise you've been doing this a long time and you know how these things work. You may be the first person that I have heard, other than I think myself, mention how good Jalen Hurts was in the first half. Because, Cap, so many people are like,
incredible.
Yeah, he was terrible. He was terrible. That's what is making these. Cap, we've had 2 games where for half of each he's been atrocious, but in the other half, he's been brilliant. Very interested to see how it looks. Cap, we appreciate it. As always, we'll check in this Sunday.
Thank you.
Again, NFL insider Adam Kaplan, as good as it gets, man. Can't wait to talk to him Sunday, see what changes heading into a really important Week 5 NFL slate. Let's talk a little Baltimore Ravens. No Lamar Jackson. What does that mean for Baltimore next?
Genti between yards and yards before contact and yards after contact, all these sorts of, they're giving him nothing. He is getting hit constantly behind the line of scrimmage, multiple yards behind the line of scrimmage, and frankly, at this point, I think he's essentially out of the race, and this is partly due to Emeka Buka having a great year, Tyler Warren putting up big numbers, Ted McMillan, I think, is maybe the most talented player overall in the rookie class.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The leader right now in the clubhouse in the odds market is Fernando Mendoza. College football purists, yep, absolutely know that guy. Fantastic. He's a great quarterback. Non-purists who are tuning in just for the biggest games, who is this guy, Joe, and how did he get here?
He came from Cal. He's a mobile kid. He's big. He's about 6'3", about 220. He's a gutty kid and had a great performance for Kirk Cignetti.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
We're in a weird place with Trevor Lawrence. This was another one of these quote-unquote can't-miss generational quarterback prospects, right? Everybody was salivating over when he was a freshman winning national championships. And here we are, about 5 years later, looking at ourselves going, is it just time for Trevor Lawrence to get a change of venue or something? Like, what's got to give here? Hopefully this Liam Cohen offense starts to come together.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
The Americans got to find answers in these partnerships, and I think they need to look at their who's making these decisions from a stat standpoint.
Well, it's so funny to me, especially coming off of the Walker Cup just a few weeks before, how it just seems like there's this glaring chasm between American partnered match play and American individual singles match play.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
GameTime decisions on SportsGrid. Kevin Walsh with you here as we get ready for not just tonight's action, but this weekend. And a game that was always going to have a lot of anticipation was the matchup between the Ravens and the Texans. But now it has a level of intrigue that changes what we were anticipating. Let's talk a little bit more about the setup for Baltimore this week with Cordell Woodland. Covers the Ravens as well as a little O's talk for the baseball fanatics out there for 105.7 The Fan. Cordell, appreciate you making some time for us before this matchup where Baltimore, being a dog, felt like it was never going to happen unless Lamar Jackson missed some time. Lamar ruled out against Houston. And you would think, okay, well, they're the Ravens. They probably have breathing room. They're a 1-3 football team. This is littered with surprises and questions and intrigue. I'll start with the superstar in Lamar. How concerning is it for you that the Ravens have to go out there and try and win a game without their MVP?
Yeah, I mean, it's always a concern when you don't have your best player. And in this case, we're talking about one of the best players in the entire league. And the quarterback position has become such a premium position. It's really tough to win without your starter. So no doubt, I mean, it's a massive blow to a team that hasn't been playing good football anyway. So they're 1-3, and now you're dealing with a quarterback who has a hamstring injury. And obviously, Lamar is known for being as mobile as anybody at his position. So you want to be careful with this. They do have the bye week in week 7. They have the Texans this Sunday, and then they have the Rams, who I'm sure are going to be coming to Baltimore kind of upset after how Thursday night went for them. So, yeah, I mean, this is a team that has a lot of issues even before the injury to Lamar and other key players. So now without Lamar being out there, no doubt it feels like the season could be in question.
So let me just stick that on the Lamar piece of it, Cordell, because you alluded to something that I've been thinking a little bit, is that Lamar missing this game against Houston, we know. I'm kind of under the impression he will be out against LA and then back after the bye week. Is that your current read on Lamar's status?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the most likely scenario. And look, I can't sit here with certainty and say, yeah, he'll be out there for sure in week 8. Like, I don't know. Hamstrings are very weird. It's a nagging injury. It's one that even when you feel like you're back from it, you don't really know if you're fully back from it until you start to open up in terms of running in the open field. So you never really know, but I would imagine that's probably best case scenario. Now, look, if they lose to the Texans and they have the Rams coming in and they're like, look, we don't want to go into the bye week 1-5. Could I see a scenario where an 80 to 85% Lamar Jackson finds a way to force himself onto the field? Possibly. I can't sit here and say that'd be the smartest thing considering how much the season hinges on Lamar Jackson just being on the field. But no doubt the Ravens don't want to be 1-5 going into the bye. So I would prepare for anything.
So for the Ravens to avoid being 1-5, there's going to be a lot of eyes on Derrick Henry and a lot on that defense. We'll start with Derrick Henry, Cordell, who we all know is one of the best running backs in football. But he's had an odd 3-week stretch loaded with fumbles. I think the biggest question is now, teams always want to stop the run against Baltimore, but it's multifaceted with Lamar and Derrick Henry. The eyes on the King will be the most, I think, since he's been a Raven. How effective do you think Derrick Henry can be, let's say, maybe in the next 2 games against 2 really good defenses in Houston and LA?
Yeah, I mean, it's still Derrick Henry. I know people have been waiting for him to kind of hit this wall, and especially how the season has gone for him here over the last couple of weeks. It's kind of given that argument some ammo. But I don't think Henry's decline, if you want to use that word, has been due to Derrick Henry playing bad football. No doubt, 3 fumbles in 3 weeks is not good. He loses 2 of those fumbles, and it came in crucial moments of the game, too, that really swung the momentum. So, yeah, I can understand that. But ultimately, I think when you look at it, Derrick Henry's lack of productivity, I think, has mainly come from the Ravens just simply not running the football enough. He hasn't had at least 15 carries since that week 1 game in Buffalo. So we know how Derrick Henry is. He's a guy that gets better the more touches he gets. I think you're going to see that. I mean, what choice do they have? They have to lean on Derrick Henry. You don't want Cooper Rush to go out there. And even though he did it in Dallas, throwing the ball 50-plus times in a game, I don't think that's the Ravens' formula for success. They want to stay as balanced as possible. And in this case, I don't think they would even mind if they had to lean heavily into the run game. Defenses are going to load up the box to try to stop them because they have to. But I think you got to force them to actually stop it before you abandon it. So I think Henry's going to be heavily involved, as I feel like all of these running backs will be. And I think if he gets the workload, I think he'll produce.
Yeah, considering he's actually at 5.8 yards per carry compared to last year's 5.9, it shows he has still been good when he's not fumbling and is actually getting the football. Cordell, let me ask you this before we let you get out of here. The biggest concern, though, of all of this might actually be the defense, because it's been bad when healthy, and man, is it not healthy. How do they possibly stop anyone from scoring 24, 28, based on what we've been seeing, based on their current setup?
Number one, they have to tackle better. They've been an atrocious tackling football team. They're not getting pressure on the quarterback. And like you said, these were issues that were there even before a lot of their key players got hurt. And that's the thing for me. I can't sit here and give you an answer if I'm being honest. Like, I don't see a positive result in sight, considering the underlying issues they already have. And now these key players being hurt. This could just be the tip of the iceberg to how bad this defense could end up being this year.
Yeah, it is concerning. I think we will learn a ton in their matchup with Houston. Cordell Woodland, again, check his workout on 105.7 The Fan. You can find him on Twitter at Cordell Woodland. Cordell, we really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right, great stuff there ahead of, again, the Ravens, Super Bowl favorites, division favorites. The whole story could be 1-5. Not something anybody was expecting, including inside that locker room. We'll talk about that and a lot more heading into the weekend after a break right here on SportsGrid.
Ashton Genty, between yards and yards before contact and yards after contact, all these sorts of, they're giving him nothing. He is getting hit constantly behind the line of scrimmage, multiple yards behind the line of scrimmage. And frankly, at this point, I think he's essentially out of the race. And this is partly due to Emeka Buka having a great year, Tyler Warren putting up big numbers. Tet McMillan, I think, is maybe the most talented player overall in the rookie class.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The leader right now in the clubhouse in the odds market is Fernando Mendoza. College football purists, yep, absolutely know that guy. Fantastic. He's a great quarterback. Non-purists who are tuning in just for the biggest games, who is this guy, Joe, and how did he get here?
He came from Cal. He's a mobile kid. He's big. He's about 6'3", about 220. He's a gutty kid and had a great performance for Kirk Cignetti.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
We're in a weird place with Trevor Lawrence. This was another one of these quote-unquote can't-miss generational quarterback prospects, right? Everybody was salivating over when he was a freshman winning national championships. And here we are, about 5 years later, looking at ourselves going, is it just time for Trevor Lawrence to get a change of venue or something? Like, what's got to give here? Hopefully this Liam Cohen offense starts to come together.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
The Americans got to find answers in these partnerships, and I think they need to look at their who's making these decisions from a stat standpoint.
Well, it's so funny to me, especially coming off of the Walker Cup just a few weeks before, how it just seems like there's this glaring chasm between American partnered match play and American individual, singles match play.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Whoa! Game Time Decisions. We're live in a big way. We are considering placing the most ridiculous wagers in the history of wagers. Would anyone like to know what I was clicking around during the break? Do not bet this. Do not bet this. But if you wanted to, Ravens team total under 9.5 with their kicker to make a field goal, Tyler Loop, Derrick Henry anytime touchdown. The odds for that, outrageously and almost overwhelmingly working against each other parlay, is 230 to 1. I am aware that math is a made field goal, a touchdown, and an extra point that is either missed or blocked, or it's a 2-point conversion and it's not converted. I am not betting that, for the record. But at 230 to 1, I don't even know if that feels right. What an outrageous piece of business, how the mind works. Should we do a little, you know what? Should we do a little of what we are going to bet this weekend? A little Friday 5, a little earlier than you thought it would be. Let's have a little fun. Let's have a little fun. Would you believe that we have a head-to-head in the Friday 5? Mystery Man does it once again. Vikings minus 3.5. Head-to-head with AJ overseas. Browns plus 3.5. I lean Mystery Man. I am. Let's see what that Myles Garrett sack prop checks in at. I've been meaning to see if they post this. Oh, it's not out yet. All right, so we'll keep waiting. We'll see if it gets posted. Sam's going to go with, ooh, I didn't see this till now. I'm going to time that out. Chris has got an Alvin Kamara anytime touchdown. I really like that. I think it's a sharp look. I'm in the same game. I am very surprised at the odds I'm getting here. And I will, if this moves a little bit, that's fine. Jackson Dart, 2+ passing touchdowns, plus 213. If Jackson Dart does not throw multiple passing touchdowns, he would be the first quarterback to not do it against the Saints. There's a level of scrappiness to New Orleans that people are just talking about, which is accurate. It's through the offense. It's not the defense. The defense is not good. Spencer Rattler's playing a little bit better than projected. Kellen Moore is good. There's some weapons on the offensive side. The defense is bad. Jackson Dart threw a touchdown pass last week. Jackson Dart, and in a game that they played very buttoned up and bottled in, don't turn it over, no mistakes. Jackson Dart was throwing touchdown passes all preseason long. I think that's a great number on Jackson Dart for 2+. Little Kamara SGP situation, something to consider. The Sam bet does stop me in my tracks a little bit. Pats Bills over the 49.5. Now, why does it stop me in my tracks? Just not something I had considered. I spent a lot of the week thinking about sides. This total is almost the same number, and in some spots is, as Buffalo, New Orleans. And while the Saints certainly do not have as good of a defense as the New England Patriots, Drake May's been balling. Drake May's 3 games, week number 1 was a little shaky. Drake May's last 3 games are real good. Real good. Florida with a perfect passer rating in the matchup against Carolina. QBR, tick under 95. As someone who is actually, I think, considering New England on the side, is there a way to get involved? Here's the thing, man, with Buffalo, and I fell victim to this last week because I played a Bills Saints under. Buffalo just does not leave Orchard Park without 30. Just don't do it. It's every single game. Now, they should have, but Sean McDermott is a bozo and kicked a 35-yard field goal instead of going for a 4th and 3, which would have ended the game. But, again, bozo, the game should have landed under. It goes over. It is what it is. That's an interesting pick there, but that's your Friday 5, the Mystery Man calling AJ out into the middle of the ring. We got Joe Lisi next on SportsGrid.
cash and Genti between yards and yards before contact and yards after contact, all these sorts of, they're giving him nothing. He is getting hit constantly behind the line of scrimmage, multiple yards behind the line of scrimmage. And frankly, at this point, I think he's essentially out of the race. And this is partly due to Emeka Buka having a great year, Tyler Warren putting up big numbers. Ted McMillan, I think, is maybe the most talented player overall in the rookie class.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The leader right now in the clubhouse in the odds market is Fernando Mendoza. College football purists, yep, absolutely know that guy. Fantastic. He's a great quarterback. Non-purists who are tuning in just for the biggest games, who is this guy, Joe, and how did he get here?
Well, he came from Cal. He's a mobile kid. He's big. He's about 6'3", about 220. He's a gutty kid and had a great performance for Kirk Signetti.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
We're in a weird place with Trevor Lawrence. This was another one of these quote-unquote can't-miss generational quarterback prospects, right? Everybody was salivating over when he was a freshman winning national championships. And here we are, about 5 years later, looking at ourselves going, is it just time for Trevor Lawrence to get a change of venue or something? Like, what's got to give here? Hopefully this Liam Cohen offense starts to come together.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
The Americans got to find answers in these partnerships, and I think they need to look at their who's making these decisions from a stat standpoint.
Well, it's so funny to me, especially coming off of the Walker Cup just a few weeks before, how it just seems like there's this glaring chasm between American partnered match play and American individual, singles match play.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Oh, welcome in. I already know what kind of segment this is going to be. Kevin Walsh here on a Friday night, joined by Joe Lisi. You're going to catch him this weekend on SportsGrid. College football today, pro football today. Joe, nice to see you on a Friday. How are you?
Oh, doing well, Kev. Not a marquee slate of college football. We got that last Saturday. It's good games, not elite games. Yeah. But that's what Saturdays are. Just laughs and bets, and so I'm preparing for Saturday. On a Friday night here. So that's what it's all about.
Well, we do have a ranked game, Joe, tonight, and could be a lot of laughs at the expense of West Virginia. I mean, this line's climbing up to 20.5. Who's betting West Virginia here?
Me. I'm going to take a shot with West Virginia. Plus the 20.5. I actually like the total. I think we get through the 46.5. I think what you're seeing in year one now, Nico Marichal, the former starter, just redshirted, so they're going to go with the freshman. But in year number one, Rich Rod's going to weed out the players that fit the scheme, that don't fit the scheme. They covered a couple weeks ago. They went on the road to Kansas, got blown out at home against Utah, and it's a Friday night kick against BYU, a blue-collar team. Again, I think there's no doubt BYU will win this game playing at home, but I'm going to take the big points. Rich Rod in an underdog spot. I like that. And again, when all eyes are on a team potentially in a primetime atmosphere on a Friday night, I'm willing to step up in that type of situation. So I like the Mountaineers tonight.
All right, little love for a dog here in the Big 12. What about some dogs maybe this weekend, Joe? I wonder if there's anyone barking and catching your attention. There's a couple of big games here with Florida, Texas, Bama, Vandy. I mean, Notre Dame's laying a huge number to Boise. Did any of those dogs stand out to you?
They did. I mean, the one that out of all the three games that you mentioned, I actually like Florida and Florida State, but I took the Boise State to me is the one. The way they lost last year to Penn State in the semifinal playoff game, they know they got beat up. We see this Notre Dame offense hitting on all cylinders, put up 50-plus points against both Purdue and Arkansas, and now they're coming back home. I think the only way Boise State can win it is if they slow the tempo. I like under 62.5, but I think they'll be within 3 touchdowns. That doesn't mean that they're going to be threatening Notre Dame. I just think that there's always a potential for a backdoor or for them to potentially lose it, the Broncos, by 17 or less.
Joe, what are you hearing around Florida, Texas? Because I'm going to show you something, and this, I don't know if you've made your decision on that game yet. I want you to see this. There's so much buzz in the studio here. I don't know if you can see this.
Very
right?
Great
There's a lot of buzz. You can tell it's not that big, right? It's not mine. But you can tell there's a lot more cloth to get a jersey on me. But there's a lot of buzz, Joe, around the Texas Longhorns. Is that how you're seeing it, or is that a fade spot?
Well, I think the line is shocking, especially when you think about both teams coming out of a bye week, knowing how Florida got abused. They can't put up points. They've been dead unders against USF, LSU, and Miami, respectively. 0-13, Kev, on third down conversions against the Hurricanes. They have that type of effort against Arch Manning. Love him or hate him, they're going to get blown out in that matchup. But we see this line open up at 7.5. It's down to 5.5, 4.5 in some spots. If I had to bet this game, I would lean to Florida. My best bet, though, Kev, is the over. I love points here. Now, there's rain in the forecast, but I think we could blow right through this 42.5. Last year was 49-17. Lagway didn't play last year, and Ewers did step in, obviously, and was the starter. I think from a scheme perspective, if Florida couldn't stop them last year, I don't think they stopped them this year, certainly to the under 42.5. I think we blow through this total.
Joe, were you shocked when you saw that total? Because I was shocked. I'm not saying it's wrong. And I'm not saying I don't like the over. I'm not playing but when I saw that number, I think my eyes jumped out of my head for a second. Like when you think around there's not just Arch hype, right? The hype around Lagway. 42.5, those are Benny games, right? That's Iowa, Wisconsin. Like, that's not supposed to be competent offenses.
No, it's not. It's Big Ten. It's Iowa, like you mentioned, Wisconsin. And again, the rain, it's 54% precipitation. Is it going to be a shower, 1 or 2, minutes or 1 or 2 times in the first half and then fine in the second half? We'll see. But I'm willing to take that shot, Kev. Here's the thing. 16 points against USF, 10 points against LSU, 7 points against Miami. And Texas still has one of the top defenses, holding Ohio State to only 14 points. So when you look at that and the shutout against Sam Houston State, the books are pricing it at 42.5, especially with bad weather. There you go. I think it's right, but I don't like it. I'm willing to alter in this type of situation.
Oh, I hear you on that. There's a game, Joe, that for some, is going to go a little under the radar, right? Because who cares? UCLA is terrible. Penn State's this big favorite. But, Joe, I like this game quite a lot. All right?
Do you really?
Yeah. But, Joe, I got to tell you something. I think Penn State needs to win this game. If somebody wants to try and tell me that Penn State should be ranked in front of Notre Dame, then I need to see Penn State win this game by 35 plus. Because UCLA's a doormat. We know it, Joe, right? I'm not laying the side. I like the total in this game. I'm just saying, where are you at on Penn State after the Oregon loss?
Typical. I keep telling, and I picked them for
But do you still think they're making the playoff?
It's not easy, Kev. When you have a quarterback that hasn't stepped up, and you have a quarterback that hasn't really had a come-from-behind win, and when the game is on the line, can't step up and hit a wide receiver or make plays or throws a critical interception. And forget this year, last year, and the year before, the year that they had 3 losses, under 50% completion percentage. It's a body of work. How can I buy into that? How can I say that, they're a given? They could go out and lose to a team like Illinois or Wisconsin or someone else on their Iowa. They go to Iowa City in 2 weeks. That's not going to be easy.
So here's my thing, right, Joe? And I actually think even your biggest Penn State fan would agree with this. They're not beating Ohio State on the road this year, right?
Not with that defense. Not with that defense right now.
Here's my thing, Joe. If they go 10-2 but lose to Oregon and Ohio State, why do we have to put them in the playoff?
Well,
why?
It's the
For
same
what?
but you're going to have the same argument that we had with Notre Dame last year, right? You know, they lose to Northern Illinois, or if Notre Dame was a 10-win football team this year, we would be saying, where's the quality win, right? It's the same thing, and that's the problem. Again, I'm a believer in putting teams in that step up against top 15, top 20 competition, top 10. If you have a team that has consistently failed to get over the hump, I can't buy in. I'll just say this about this game. Last year, they laid 28 at home, and they failed to cover. They won that game by 17 points. You know, UCLA put up points, so we'll see. But I like some dogs under the radar. I'll just throw them out. I like Boston College, plus the 6.5. Keep an eye out for them. My best bet of the weekend happens to be the Huskies laying 6.5 against Maryland. I think they absolutely smash Maryland on the road.
Whoa. Okay, you know what? That was a game that I was staring at. I knew I couldn't get a read on. I'll trust you there. Can I throw an ACC game at you, Joe, that maybe you want nothing to do with, but it ended up crossing through key numbers?
Sure.
But I'll throw it out there. Listen, check out the Kevin Walsh Show on the podcast. We get the full college card. Joe, I'm back in Belichick. 14.5? Well, how is Dabo still laying these numbers?
Gio Lopez not starting. Max Johnson, they have a shot.
Stock up. I like it. Lisa, you're the best. I'll talk to you Sunday. We got Brady Cannon joining us next.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Ashton Genty, between yards and yards before contact and yards after contact, all these sorts of, they're giving him nothing. He is getting hit constantly behind the line of scrimmage, multiple yards behind the line of scrimmage, and frankly, at this point, I think he's essentially out of the race, and this is partly due to Emeka Buka having a great year, Tyler Warren putting up big numbers, Ted McMillan, I think, is maybe the most talented player overall in the rookie class.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Well, Shadur, which quarterbacks are you talking about? Because there is some bad quarterback play out there, but the dude who can't beat Dylan Gabriel out for a job and can't beat Joe Flacco out for a job certainly can't lay claim to being better than any other quarterback in the league.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
That team are going to stretch them over the top, but I still think it's blue-collar football, Big Ten style. That's where USC has struggled. I do not think Lincoln Riley, I'm sorry, is a good head coach. He's a great quarterback whisperer. He coaches from an offensive coordinator position, doesn't make halftime adjustments, and that's where I give the edge to Bielema. I don't like this game, but I would take the points with Illinois.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Major League Baseball has decided it is time to put balls and strikes not just in the hands of the umpires, but also the robot umpires, as they say. The ABS system is now officially in place starting next season. Now, keep in mind, they're not just throwing this out there. They have used this at the Arizona Fall League, and they've also used it at different levels of the minor leagues as well.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions live on a Friday night, a busy Friday as always, but of course we make time for our guy Brady Cannon joins us here live from Las Vegas. Don't forget, in Vegas tonight, Aces Mercury. We'll talk about that before we get out of here. But Brady, I want to talk to you about, of course, everything coming this weekend. But with all the contests, Survivor yesterday.
Oh,
did
wow.
people? So you
Carnage.
So was it Cardinals? Because sometimes I wonder if it being a Thursday, people go, I'm not ready for a Thursday pick. I'll wait for Sunday.
Right.
How impactful was that upset there in the Niners-Rams game?
Very impactful. And you're spot on, Kevin. Sometimes Thursday games aren't nearly as popular. And I know from an against the spread perspective, we never played the Thursday game because
I think we just lost Brady there. We're going to get him right back. No worries there. Happens here. We're live on a Friday night. But I think to what Brady was saying there, like Thursday nights occasionally, from a value perspective, you don't see it as much. I talked a lot about at the top of our show. For the San Francisco 49ers, that win it's a season changer. I think that team has the third best odds to make the playoffs now, where they might have been a dog in the postseason market with a loss. They'd be 3-2. Rams would be somewhat decently. Rams would be bigger favorites to win the division if they won that game than the Niners are currently. Niners would be going to Tampa Bay, probably booked as a dog in that game, just if they would have lost to the Rams, right, especially by margin. And then you're sitting there 3-3. It's like, what are we doing? That is a huge odds changer, and I know it impacted people in that survivor market. So let's get Brady Cannon back in here. And Brady, listen, it happens. Technical difficulties always a part of, live TV. But just tell us what you were saying about the Thursday night aspect and how people approach that in these contests.
Yeah, from an against the spread perspective, I will avoid it like the plague because you have to turn in your entire card. And a lot can happen between Thursday afternoon and Saturday evening when you're required to submit all your picks. So from an against the spread, again, angle, I typically never played the Thursday game. Survivor's different and a couple weeks ago, we played the Buffalo Bills successfully in their Thursday night win over Miami. So your point is well taken there, but Survivor is a different animal, and a lot of people went in on the Rams. It looked like a free square to take advantage of San Francisco when they were so beaten up with injury. Mac Jones played the game of his life. I tell you, the MVP right now on the Niners is Robert Saleh. I said it on Twitter last night. If there's a market for assistant coach of the year, this guy's the favorite right now. And, that was one thing that kept me away. We talked about possibly playing the Rams in Survivor. And I said, everything adds up for Los Angeles here. But Kyle Shanahan has owned Sean McVay in their head-to-head matchups for the last decade or so, as long as the two of them have been coaching in the NFC West. And so I'm, thanking my lucky stars that we stayed away. But yeah, thousands of people were eliminated with the Los Angeles Rams.
So let's talk about maybe, again, the contest portion, the stagnant numbers, very interesting. Brady, where are they at on Chargers Commanders? Big news day, with the biggest, of course, being Jaden Daniels will go for Washington and LA.
Yeah, this is going to be a very popular pick, I have a feeling, in both the Westgate Super Contest and Circa Millions, because the number in the contest is 2.5, and we have started to see threes populate the market. I think there's a lot more Chargers -3 there now in the market on that game than there are 2.5. So I think, getting that at less than a field goal, I expect it'll be a popular pick in the contest. And Kevin, little news release here. We are on the Chargers ourselves on our Las Vegas football contest show. We went that direction. It was a tough week last week for the Chargers against that defensive front of the New York Giants. I think it's a lot less of an animal here with what Washington presents as far as a pass rush.
Are you surprised, but then to bring it all together, Brady, are you surprised at all that the Giants have flipped to dogs in that game against New Orleans?
No. They were dominated by the Chargers. 6 yards per play to 3. Jackson Dart was sacked 5 times. He threw for just barely over 100 yards. O'Marion Hampton ran for 120. The Chargers just couldn't get out of their own way. They beat themselves, really. Mm-hmm. Now, the Saints, I think, looked pretty decent and put up a fight in a losing effort to the Buffalo Bills. But I was not all that impressed with the Giants. It was one of those spots where Jackson Dart, used his legs, gave him some inspiration, and the Chargers, going across country, they laid an egg. But now you're going to send this rookie kid into a hostile environment that is the Superdome on the road. This team desperate for a victory. I made the Saints a 2-point favorite, and I'm right there where I've seen a little bit of activity come on in the Giants. Looks like there are some spots that have gone to 1 or 1.5, but I do believe the Saints should be a small favorite here.
Yeah, I'm trying to re-pull up my notes on what I thought on that Sunday night for the game. I just figured, with that win, that they would get a little bit more love in the market. I understand what you're saying from like an efficiency standpoint. It wasn't there, but it's interesting to me. The Saints are getting that 0-4, but they're much better than that credit, which I don't think is incorrect, right? But we're seeing that. What about Brady and this is something that you and I talked about on Tuesday. I'm curious if anything's changed for you at all in this Baltimore-Houston game.
Yeah, this one's pretty wild. And you like the situation for Baltimore as a 1-3 team coming off of a loss, facing a team that comes off of a win in the Texans. I think that skews the market in favor of the team that is off of the loss. But Baltimore is so injured. It's just a laundry list. Ronnie Stanley's banged up. We know Lamar's not going to play. The defensive line, we saw the Lions just thrash that defensive front a couple weeks ago. So I think it's hard to get behind the Ravens with all the injuries they have. The situation, I believe, favors them heavily. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if they come out here and smash the Texans. But we didn't get there with one of our contest plays because of the reservations we have about the injuries.
Yeah, the injury element to this game is as big as you'll maybe see all season long in a singular spot. I can't wait to watch this weekend play out. It's going to be a lot of fun here. And Brady, we appreciate you helping us get ready for this one. And we'll do it all again on Tuesday to get ready for the next one. Let's get a break here. Come right back. All the best bets for tonight and the weekend next.
Genti between yards and yards before contact and yards after contact, all these sorts of, they're giving him nothing. He is getting hit constantly behind the line of scrimmage, multiple yards behind the line of scrimmage, and frankly, at this point, I think he's essentially out of the race, and this is partly due to Emeka Buka having a great year, Tyler Warren putting up big numbers, Tet McMillan, I think, is maybe the most talented player overall in the rookie class.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The leader right now in the clubhouse in the odds market is Fernando Mendoza. College football purists, yep, absolutely know that guy. Fantastic. He's a great quarterback. Non-purists who are tuning in just for the biggest games, who is this guy, Joe, and how did he get here?
He came from Cal. He's a mobile kid. He's big. He's about 6'3", about 220. He's a gutty kid and had a great performance for Kirk Cignetti.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
We're in a weird place with Trevor Lawrence. This was another one of these quote-unquote can't-miss generational quarterback prospects, right? Everybody was salivating over when he was a freshman winning national championships. And here we are, about 5 years later, looking at ourselves going, is it just time for Trevor Lawrence to get a change of venue or something? Like, what's got to give here? Hopefully this Liam Cohen offense starts to come together.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
The Americans got to find answers in these partnerships, and I think they need to look at their who's making these decisions from a stat standpoint.
Well, it's so funny to me, especially coming off of the Walker Cup just a few weeks before, how it just seems like there's this glaring chasm between American partnered match play and American individual, singles match play.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Live and right here on Sports Grid. It is Game Time Decisions. In-game live is next on this Friday night. Weekend programming as well. Of course, we'll have you covered throughout all the biggest games, college and pro. Let's set you up with our college picks, our NFL picks, and then we'll do anything that remains for tonight's slate and update even on the live board. The Friday 5 NFL style. Give me Jackson Dart, 2+ passing touchdowns. Every quarterback that's faced this Saints defense has thrown for multiple passing touchdowns. I think any game script, Dart's live to do just that at better than 2-1. I really, really like that option. Chris is in the same game with the Kamara. Anytime touchdown, I think it's a sharp look. The Saints, if they win this game, if they're into the mid-20s, you think Kamara's a big part of that there. I don't mind the number at -110, -105. Over in Pat's Bills, that's a Sunday night special there from Sam. That number at 49.5. And then it's a head-to-head. It's AJ. It's the mystery man. It's a 3.5-point line in London. We will be live on SportsGrid for almost the entirety of that football game with Pro Football today. FST will cover the early portions of that game, so make sure you are dialed in with us for Browns Vikings. Minnesota offensive line, injury after injury after injury mounting on that side of the ball. How about the college football, little GTDSU? Where are we looking this weekend? AJ goes to Cincy, the Bearcats against the Cyclones, -118 on the money line. Keep it Big 12 style with the Baylor Bears. Sam Yarnell's going to lay the 5.5 against K-State. Chris has got Texas at the same price. On the road, though, against Florida. I am on that play as well. My full college football card is on the Kevin Walsh Show, a Sports Grid podcast, so feel free to check us out over there. We also did some quick hits around the divisional series, a little Thursday night recap, some NFL weekend thoughts, so that's all out there and available, where you will also find my best bet for the Boise State Notre Dame game, which is under 63.5 at -115. Boise's offense is just not entering into a spot that I trust. Maddox Madsen's not as good as Talon Green, and Talon Green struggled against an improving ND secondary. Notre Dame's going to run it, and then run it again. That is their... Not that they won't be able to throw, but I think it's going to be just more on the ground, bleed some clock. That's a big-time total of 63.5. That's actually a point higher than when Notre Dame played Arkansas, who I think is more of an over team than Boise is. Live board right now, South Florida up 23-0 against Charlotte. The unranked South Florida Bulls, which is a little unfair. I understand that the wins against Boise and Florida have not aged as well, but a 3-1 Bulls group dropping out. Again, little unfair. They are right now destroying Charlotte 23-0, covering any and all first half numbers with that shutout. Delaware with some juice is moving right now, 10-3. 50% of the solo 1-1 Minucci special for Sam's best bet is home. Needs a passing touchdown. He did throw a ball that was caught in the end zone. Problem, wrong team. He's got a pick in this game. Delaware does lead 10-3 right now. We do have Chris's West Virginia play still coming. That's a first half team total over 6.5 for the ranked action. I'm involved in the college slate as well. Same time, just different game. Give me Colorado State team total over at 16.5, -122 juice. Makes that worth it. SDSU has given up 3 points in their last 2 weeks. I don't think they're as good as that. I think we're getting a really good number here on Colorado State. Quarterback change. I think entering into the second week of that change, the offense hums a little bit more. The big one tonight in the WNBA, the Aces and the Mercury. The WNBA finals begin. We are rooting in the Vegas Aces, but we are going under to start this series in the first quarter. That number is 41.5. You've got the Aces coming off of a hard-fought 5-game series that ended in overtime. Maybe a little sluggish. You've got the Mercury, who have actually now been a little overly rested, perhaps, maybe a little sluggish. And you've got two teams that have played 4 times who have seen the first quarter have 40 or fewer points, all 4 of them to start the WNBA Finals. I think we are under the 41.5, and that's where we are. And that's where we're going. It's been a delight to have you with us here on this Friday night. Appreciate everybody who stopped by and made it happen. In-game live is next on SportsGrid, so make sure you are dialed in as there is plenty to cover here. If you are in the mix, we will see you on GTD Monday here on SportsGrid.